Hey guys, so here we are. Um, First of all, let me say I am utterly exhausted. I should probably be in bed right now, but got a lot of things going on in this noggin, and um, I just feel like to do this video. It might take more than one video because my phone only goes up to a half hour, but just a recap, man. Is 7 years ago today that I followed the voice of God. I packed what fit in my little blue Dodge Neon and I drove off. And it's been a crazy ride. So, yeah, there was a lot involved with that. And I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and God called me out. There was a lot going on. I had been in a cult for 24 years, and horrible family. There's different situations going on. I lost my house and everything in it, and was like couch surfing for a while. But it was something that needed to be done. I got out of a very horrible marriage, and God helped me. And sometimes, you do whatever it takes to be free, and I regret none of it. It has all made me the woman that I am today. And so I had no idea where I was going. Just I a couple months prior had lost my grandma, who was just my heart and my world. And so I had been temporarily staying with an uncle, and just it was my family's just not nice. And so I was in a situation where God had set me free from the cult and opened my eyes to that. My family is separate from the cult, so they weren't part of it. But I left the cult. God brought me out in April of 2018. My fiance left me in April of 2018, same month. And on the day that he left me, I found out that my uterus was overrun with tumors. And then in the midst of all that, my uncle, knowing everything, gave me 3 weeks to get out. So, because he didn't need me anymore. So I had no idea what I was going to do. I was on disability at the time. Even for someone with money, 3 weeks is not enough notice. And but I just began to pray and ask God for guidance. I was really freaking out a lot, let's be honest, with everything else going on. It was crazy. And I really thought like the devil was coming against me and all this stuff, and you just really feel like hell got loosed on you. And but a lot of that was God stirring up that nest to get me out, because you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. So towards the end of my being in Wisconsin, I had until May 19th to be out of my uncle's apartment. And so leading up to that, at the end of April going into May, I went on a special fast for someone that I loved dearly. And the Lord spoke mightily to me during that time. And on the last day of the fast, gave me a dream and showed me what was going to happen to the person that I loved and was fasting for. And it was horrifying. And it was a dangerous situation. And so what happened next helped me to learn that even when you might misunderstand something or kind of be like right track, wrong train, you still end up where you need to be. So what happened was all this stuff was going on. It was getting closer to the time that I had to be out. I had no idea where I was going to go or what I was going to do or what was going on. And every time that I prayed and fasted, God, what is going on? What do I do? Freaking out. He would never answer me, but he would always give me peace. It's this annoying thing about him. And so I always got great peace. Didn't answer my question, but that's what would happen. And so as the days went on and the calendar date got closer to May 19th, I started to also be worried about this dream that God gave me and this person that I love. And I figured that this situation was going to happen any day. Now, I can tell you, being all this time later, it hasn't even happened yet. But at the time I thought, this could be any day now. So if I get a call and they need my help, I gotta be ready on a moment's notice. So in the meantime, while I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with the living situation, I had a little like a little carry-on suitcase you would take on a plane. And I was like, I'm just going to take this and fill it with essential clothes that I would need to be ready to go in a moment's notice if I'm needed. So, right track, wrong train. You're being set up. This is the little ways that God can set you up. So I get my little suitcase packed, ready to go. And God said, good, that's all you're taking when you leave. So I had the right idea in packing the suitcase. It was just for the wrong reason. I thought I was doing it for an emergency if I was needed to go on a moment's notice. But then God said, nope, this is all you're taking with you when you move out of your uncle's as far as clothes go. So little by little, the Lord began to show me that I was only taking what fit in my car and that I was just going to go. Okay, go where? You'll know when you need to. You'll know when you need to. And so I go on dates with God. One of my last dates. I don't want to say my last because I don't want to lie, but it was one of my last dates with God in Wisconsin before I left. I went to Lake Michigan. We would go there all the time. And we were walking along the beach, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I was looking out over the water, and you can just see the waves. And man, it's just soothing. And the Lord spoke to me, and you said, do you see how beautiful that is? And do you see how the waves, they just flow? And they don't stop and turn back and look up. And, wait, now? Do we go now? Where do we go? What's going to happen? What? They just move as my spirit leads. Just flow. Yes, Lord. Point taken. And so it occurred to me that I was going to be packing up my car and going where God said. Who knows? So leading up to it, now we're like in the final week before I have to be out. And I would get different ideas in my head. Oh, I could go here or I could go there. And it was like stuff I wanted to do, but you just knew in your spirit, like, that's not it. Okay, no, that's not it. No, no, that's not it. And so finally, this is God. I'm going to tell you this right now. The day before I was leaving, so I planned on leaving on Friday, May 18th. That's what it was. So this Friday, this year in 2025, it's the 16th. It was Friday the 18th in 2018. And so I was leaving on the 18th. On Thursday, the day before, I was getting gas in my car, and I had this thought that kind of came to my mind. And simultaneously, my response was, absolutely never. And that's exactly what I'm supposed to do. So, and that thought was that when I left Wisconsin, my first place to go was to go to the St. Louis Arch and go up it. And I am petrified of heights. And so this was, a symbolic thing of me starting off on this journey. Who knows what I'm going into? I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. And I'm just driving off to who knows what. And so the biggest step, obviously, would be to face your fears. It's symbolic, saying we're going to take the bull by the horns and let's start this off right. Sounds pretty, but makes for a great story, but you don't ever want to have to go through it. So that's what happened. And for the most of the people that were with me at the beginning of this are not here anymore. So for like the three of you that are, I know you've heard a lot of this before, but God's good. And so I was trying to figure out what to do. My uncle was home more often. I wanted to just kind of leave without him knowing or whatever, but he was coming around more, and I'm like, dang, And so I didn't want to have to deal with him. I didn't want there to be trouble. I didn't want there to be anything like that. And so what happened was Friday morning, May 18th, I woke up at about 4 in the morning. It was still dark out, and I was so exhausted, and I was going to go back to sleep, and the Lord was like, go. So my uncle was sleeping, and I was trying so hard to be as quiet as I could to go. It was an upper apartment. Go downstairs quietly outside, pack my car. Dodge Neon is very little. And so I'm trying so hard to be quiet to not wake him up. And then, like, one of my trips going down, my box fan fell down the stairs. And so that was not fun. He never woke up, praise the Lord. And so I had to do things throughout that day. I got just different things, getting together before I left town. And I got speakers, my speakers hooked up in my car, and so I was really excited about that. I'm leaving town. So this is what I had planned. I was staying at a hotel, not in St. Louis, but closer to it. And so I was going to spend the night there and then drive to St. Louis that morning, Saturday, because you had to go online and you have to get tickets ahead of time, and they're time stamped. So just preparing all that and getting that ready. And so what happened was, so here it is Friday night. I'm leaving town. Is like in the evening, like 5 o'clock or so. And so I'm like, okay, my speakers are fixed. I want I want to play something symbolic. This is a big thing. This is huge. Because of the cult I was in and all the abuse that I've endured in my life, I had like little to no confidence in myself and was totally bombarded with, you don't hear from God, God doesn't speak to you. So I second guessed everything. God's helped me a lot. I still do to some extent, but I'm, praise the Lord, not anywhere near where I was. And so it was just a hard thing to do. And so I'm leaving town and I'm like, I want something symbolic. I want, to play now that my speakers are fixed in my car. And I'm starting off on this huge thing. And I would think of different worship songs that I love. And I'd be like, oh, no, that's not it. Kind of like when I was thinking about where to go. Like, no, you just knew that wasn't it. And I thinking and thinking and thinking. And I could not, nothing was right. And nothing worked. Until finally, I say, okay, God, I want to play something symbolic. This is huge. This is you and me starting off on this journey. What song should I play? Boom, came instantly. Should have done that before. And it was a song that the Lord had brought back to me a couple times in the last previous years from that time. Every now and then I would think about it. It was a song from my childhood that I completely loved, and it actually isn't even from a Christian band, but I never realized what it meant. I just thought it was a cool song. But now realizing what it meant, and the lyrics just hit differently. And so when I was driving in the car and I asked the Lord and he gave it to me quick, it was Kyrie from Mr. Mister. So when you look it up, this whole entire song is about God leading and guiding you on the road of your life and you stepping out in faith, and you're either going to take the path that God has for you or wish you had. And it's your choice. And just that God would be with you. Kyrie eleison is Lord have mercy in Latin. And so just for God to be with us, where I'm going, will you follow? Hallelujah. And in the darkness of the night, and that God would be there with you and help you. And it was amazing. And his presence filled my car. God is so good to me. God is so good to me, you guys. There's been times that I just have these times of worship in my car. It's so powerful that I just have to pull over. I can't stand it anymore. There's been times that I saw him sitting next to me and I was so scared I couldn't even look. God is so good. God is so good. So I left and so played Kyrie. And then from then on, sometimes I'll do this thing where I'll be like, okay, Jesus, you pick. What CD do you want to listen to? And I had my CDs in a bag at the time, and I'll just fumble around and not look and pick one out and just shove it in, and that's the one that he picked. And it's always been wonderful that way. And so I did that night, and I put the CD in. I'm driving on the highway, and it wasn't a worship CD. It was a preaching CD. And it was about becoming the person that God wants you to be. 7 steps to greatness, based off of the account of Abraham and Isaac and making that sacrifice. And I said to myself, I don't have an Isaac to give up, but there's a lot in this that's very helpful and good, so I'll listen to it. Ooh, there are things you say that come back to bite you in the rear. They was gonna chomp pretty soon. And so it is a powerful sermon. And so got to the hotel, spent the night, went to the Ark the next day, and man, I kept seeing signs about Memphis, 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 all this stuff about Memphis. And when I got to the arch, there's people everywhere, and there were these tour guides, and one of the tour guides looked like a Facebook friend of mine that I have that lives in Memphis. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I thought to myself, if I see one more thing about Memphis, that's where I'm going. There were some things that what I did was, because I had so much doubt and lacked self-confidence because of what I had been through, there were a lot of times, and being in that situation when, like, look, there's no room for error. I need to hear from God. I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just a woman out here by myself. I have no idea about nothing. Like, I need to hear from God. So I would commune with God and talk to him in my head, because I'm like, not even the devil is going to know what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, what I'm asking, because then you have to go through, something happens, you pray for something and it happens. Well, the devil can move and do things to confuse you. And so I'm like, I ain't even got time to deal with that. So I'm just going to talk to God and ask things and do things in my head so the devil don't know. So that's what I told myself. I hear one more thing about Memphis, that's where I'm going. So I'm in line to go up this arch, and I'm petrified of heights, and I'm like, all this stuff is running through my head. Okay, look, this is like overboard. Don't you think this is outlandish? Okay, you're taking a step of faith, and all that's symbolic, and it's beautiful, but this is overboard. And there's just so much fear. And, but I had to do it. So you go up in this little capsule, up one side, and then you can be up there, and then it goes down another. It is not for anybody with claustrophobia. In some issues, I am claustrophobic, and it was just awful. So you get up to the top. For those of you who've never been up to the top of the St. Louis Arch, it sways in the wind. You're a couple 100 feet up in the air, and it sways in the wind. And so we got up there, and so they got windows for you to see out, and they have like these carpeted inclines that go up to the window. And so there were some people who just look out the window. There were some people who would lay on those inclines and look out the window. And I would force myself to look out the window, but it was awful. And I'm like, kind of just like take the next capsule down and get out of here. And then I realized, like, look, I came all this way. Like, I can't waste this. God's trying to show me something. I can't just waste this. So I forced myself to lay down on the incline and look out the window. And kept getting all these feelings of dizziness and that I'm going to fall and I'm going to throw up. But I just, and I was all tense. But I'm doing it, but I'm obeying God, And then in one moment, in 1 second, just like, I let go. And just released everything and looked out the window. And in that moment when I did that, the Lord spoke to me and he said, now I want you to trust me like you trust this arch to hold you up. And it was so pivotal. And I stayed up there for a while. And went back, I was going to say home, but not home, to the hotel. And so it was a Saturday. So I was going to look on my phone for churches in the area. And there was a different type of church that I had heard about, a different denomination that was very similar to what I believed. And so I wanted to look into it. So I'm looking for churches in the area, where I could go to the next day. And so I'm scrolling down, and like to their church locator, and I'm seeing the stuff. I get to the bottom, and it has their address and where they're headquartered. And it's headquartered in Memphis. But so then I was like, okay. I went to church the next morning, and it was amazing. Had a great time. And he talked about your season of suddenly and the promises that God had given you. And I was waiting on promises. To this day, there are promises from God that I am waiting on. Anywhere from 6, 7, 12, 13, 40 years that I've been waiting for different promises and things that God put in my heart to do that would happen for me. And so it talked about your season of suddenly, and so it really hit home. And I went up for prayer at the time because of the tumors in my uterus. I decided to not get a hysterectomy like they suggested that they push for. And the Lord had led me to a food plan that would take the tumors away. They were not cancerous. And but even with cancer, food is it. That's with our bodies. The cancer that we have in America is unheard of in other parts of the world. It's because of the junk and the poison and the garbage that they put in food. So the Lord led me to a plan of eating that could possibly help me, and that's the route that I wanted to take. So I had them pray for me, and they laid hands on me and laid hands on like my abdomen and like where my tumors would be in my uterus, and I could just feel like a burning, not a painful burning, but just it was hard to describe, but I knew something had happened, and I was grateful. So then they had a service Sunday night that I went to, and they were going to be having revival services all week, and I was excited, and I wanted to stay for that, and the Lord said no. So I stayed overnight at a hotel again, and then the next morning on Monday, I checked out of the hotel, and I thought, well, I guess I'm going to Memphis. And so I stopped at a fast food place for breakfast and to read my Bible. I felt to read my Bible, and the Lord led me to Hosea. It's very meaningful for me. There's a lot of things in there God had already shown me. And so I read it for a while, finished my breakfast, I closed my Bible, I was getting ready to leave, and there was something in me that was like, sit back down, we're not done. So I'm like, I'll just read one more chapter. So I was reading one more chapter in the book of Hosea, and it started talking about Egypt and Egypt's capital. And the capital of ancient Egypt was Memphis. Okay. So I went there, and that's where the Lord led me. So I went and was there, and God made a beautiful way for me to stay in a church. They had literally an upper room, a bedroom with a bathroom in it, with a shower, everything. And I could use the kitchen whenever I wanted. I could go down in the sanctuary and pray whenever I wanted. It was an amazing time of my life. I started the food plan that God gave me, and they told me that there was no guarantee with my situation because they had done an ultrasound. I went to get an ultrasound, and they couldn't even do the ultrasound because all they could see, the technician told me, usually you got to wait for your doctor to tell you, but I'm going to tell you right now, I can't even do it because I can't even see anything. There's just tumors everywhere. And so, with the food plan, the people that dealt with that told me because of my condition they couldn't guarantee anything. But I knew that if I obeyed God, He would do it. And in 2 months, I was tumor free. I was extremely healthy. And being in Memphis, that's how you know it was God. That being in the crime capital of America was the most amazing, healing, peaceful, restoring time of my life. And I'm going to stop this and start a second video. Thank you guys.